morning, all. Welcome to, Parks, Recs, and Railroads, October 22nd. I need approval of the minutes of last month. Ms. Fanslow, Ms. Frazier. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We're gonna move right on to, part one for Jeff to take care of under the King School.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I just want to let you know, we normally start with Justin Gagno. He couldn't be here, but I included a last email from him on page one. They're actually starting to move aggregate from to Hoss today, and so he wanted to be present. And you'll see he says the Pumpkin Patch Express was a success, and they nearly sold out of their 600 tickets, and they've sold 11,000 tickets for Polar Express. So Justin said he'd be here next month. Okay. We do have representatives from the King School here. We have Corey Patterson from the King School, along with her team, David Avigdor, the attorney, and Tom Jarrett, the engineers. As you recall, the committee had advanced, and the board had advanced a concept approval for a crossing, pedestrian crossing for the King School in the town of Hadley, where they cross our tracks to get to their athletic fields. So this is a follow-up to that, where they have a little bit further of a design ready to advance. So our next process would be to review this design, and then it requires another board approval before they can actually construct their project. So I'll turn it over to David.
Thank you, Jeff. I am David Avigdor. I'm an attorney. I practice in the town of Lake Luzerne. I'm representing the King School. The King School is an accredited private religious school with an enrollment of 145 students between kindergarten and high school, through high school. And they have a school, or school buildings, school infrastructure on one side of the railroad track that you own, and athletic fields on the other side of the railroad track. And that's been the case for decades, and of course for decades the railroad was not used, and we freely crossed the track, and the students were allowed to get to the athletic fields because there was no railroad activity. When Warren County became the owner of the track and there became railroad operations, we ceased crossing at our property because we didn't have a legal right to cross there. However, we do have a legal right to cross about a quarter mile down Route 9N. Route 9N, of course, is a state highway with a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. By the way, the school has approached the state and asked for a reduction in that speed limit. That has been rejected. And we have historically, since the railroad's been in operation, not allowed elementary school youth to use the athletic field at all, which is a tremendous restriction not only on their physical education and their school day and not being able to get outdoors and get fresh air, but also in our facilities, in the buildings. It means that physical education has to take place indoors, puts a constraint on other cultural and educational programs that we could have. And through that time, junior high school students and high school students had walked down quarter mile on 9N, a lot of state highway traffic, then crossed this railroad at the place where we have a legal crossing, then walked back to the fields. So what we're looking to do is put in a crossing directly at the school where there'll be no walking down the highway. Recently, we've changed our procedure from having the students walk this quarter mile to driving the students to the fields. That's a lot of time out of their physical activity allotment, their gym period. We don't have really a structure set up for that driving, so it's parents and staff who are doing the driving, and we'd very much like to have your approval and have permission for this crossing. We were here about a year and a half ago with a conceptual plan. That conceptual abstention, and the other votes were yes. We believe that we have improved on that conceptual plan. The path has been narrowed from 8 feet to 4 feet since we presented that concept. The fencing has been rearranged in a way that the railroad believes is safer. The railroad itself, by the way, is completely on board with this plan, was fully involved with our engineer in the development from the conceptual plan to the actual, what we hope is final plan that we're presenting to you today. The railroad is fine with it. The school board of trustees is fine with it. The school has an organization called the Parents Fellowship, which involves membership of all the parents of all of the children in the school. This was brought to their attention, and the Parents Fellowship voted unanimously that we proceed with this plan and come to you for approval and hopefully be able to build it. So I can understand when you first hear children crossing a railroad track, how there might be trepidation. But the parents of these children have unanimously endorsed this plan. The school that they attend and has responsibility for their safety and well-being has endorsed the plan. Railroad crossings are not a unique thing. They happen all over this large nation, including where students cross. There are many pedestrian crossings, which means that we as a nation have developed standards for these crossings. The railroads as an industry have developed standards. They are endorsed as federal standards. This plan complies with all those standards, and with all respect to, I'm sure, your concern about keeping these youth safe, there's a lot of experience and a lot of engineering know-how that goes into this, and all of that has been incorporated in this plan. I'm going to let Mr. Jarrett, our engineer, talk about the specifics of what the plan is and what the infrastructure is, but I just want to mention that this is a two-pronged plan to keep everything safe. One is building the infrastructure, including fences, gates, locks, closed-circuit television, and the other prong of that is staff training, rules that no child ever use this crossing alone, that there will always be a teacher or staff, responsible adult who has been trained, leading the children down to the crossing, monitoring the crossing. There will be the railroad has reviewed site distances and all of that infrastructure and believes that everything's appropriate. And we believe that we will have not only a richer educational experience and physical experience for these youth, but indeed a far safer crossing than the driving and possible use of a quarter-mile walk down a state highway that currently is the fallback that we've had to use. So let me turn it over to Tom, unless you have any questions of me before I'll be here, and I'll be glad to take questions, but you may want to hear from him as to the physical plan. Okay, Tom.
Mr. Sokol, did you have a question?
Just a quick one. Thank you,
Please,
Mr. Chairman.
please.
God forbid anything does occur,
Yes,
fatality or, all liabilities fall on the King School?
yes,
Okay.
yes. That's correct. And we will have, of course, insurance. Aside from a plan, we will have insurance. We understand that this is our liability. We've made that pledge to the railroad. We make that pledge to you. If your county attorney would like presentation of certificates of insurance or some such indication of that, we're fully prepared and think that would be a commercially reasonable response.
Mr. Conover?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Should the, for whatever reason, the school cease, is there a reversion of the easement? In other words, that it automatically reverts back to us?
Mr. Chairman, I think I can clarify it a little bit. What we've offered and what the board has approved is a license agreement, not a permanent easement. So, for instance, in that case, then the board could cancel the license agreement. So the board has the option at any time to discontinue this license agreement. So if there's a serious incident or a near miss, that would be reviewed here, and the board would have that option at any time. It is
Yeah.
not a permanent easement.
Okay, so it's not a permanent easement, and then in terms of the easement you already have, and one of the things on railroad tracks, of course, is to not have a proliferation of crossings, because there's transportation standards in terms of speed and everything else. On your existing crossing, has there been any discussion about the elimination of the existing easement, or the establishing a narrower use of that existing easement as it relates to the ball field, if you follow what I'm saying? In other words, perhaps the pedestrian easement is not satisfactory for maintenance purposes, for equipment and whatever that's required to maintain the field. And so you may need the other easement relative to that, but that easement could be made narrower in terms of what the crossing allows and what it doesn't allow.
I understand your concern. When I started work on this project, we did a title search to confirm the existence of that easement, and we do have an easement there, but that easement is not unique to the King School. There are others who have the right to cross there.
All right.
So we are not in a position,
So that's a general...
we are not in a position to, it's not general to the general public, but there are homes on the other side of the railroad track, that can use that crossing. That crossing is, and I don't mean this in the legal sense, but that crossing is a road, not a path. You could drive on it. The crossing that we envision creating here is 4 feet wide and therefore could not be driven. Corey, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe that you use that other crossing for maintenance. There is public road access to these fields. The problem, the administrative problem in terms of using them, is that it's a long way around to get from the school to the fields by driving. That's not a burden for a maintenance truck, but it's a burden for schools who may have, for students who may have a 45-minute play period, and we take 12 minutes away from each end of it. So no, there would be no use for maintenance and no reason for us to use that other easement. But we're not in a position where we can relinquish it. The original creation of that easement
It's not your
was
easement.
to a group of people, which includes us.
Fine.
I have one. Did you ever consider going over the track then?
Yes, I can let Tom speak more specifically, but this fix is expensive, that fix is absolutely exorbitant.
Mr. Taylor?
I understand, you said that the King School was going to have all liability for this, but that doesn't stop someone from bringing a suit against the county, and maybe, Marvin, you could put on your old hat. Is that true? We'd still have the cost of defense and...
Well, it depends on how the permit is structured. I haven't been part of that. If there's qualifications in there that they have to indemnify and defend us, Jeff, do you know?
I'm sure that Martin has maximized the county protections on that.
And that would answer the question. We could bring, I could ask Martin to send an email out to the committee. That'd probably be the best thing to do, to have it clarified, because like I say, I have not seen the documents.
I would think that Martin would be asking not only that we provide certificates of insurance, but that the county be named as an additional insured if the county were sued. And you're correct. I can't, none of us in this room can do anything to prevent a plaintiff from suing the county. That's for better or for worse true. But I think if the county were sued and you were named as an additional insured on that policy, that would be a very simple matter of your turning over that defense to that carrier on insurance that we would have purchased. So you're named as an additional insured, the carrier would be bound both under the fact that you're holding the certificate and the fact that they're insuring us, and we've agreed to indemnify and hold the county harmless. And we envision a similar relationship with the railroad. They're not interested in assuming any liability on this.
A note to that effect is, this crossing exists right now, and this easement is to that effect. So really, this more controlled, access, I think would, benefit the insurance company, benefit the county. I think they'd be happier with this crossing as opposed to the easement that currently exists.
I mean, any other part to this you wanna do?
I'm gonna step back and let Tom take over the
Okay.
physical, but I'm here if you have any questions.
Thank you, David. For those who don't know me, I'm Tom Jarrett of Jarrett Engineers. I was called in to assist the King School after you granted conceptual approval to a plan that I think you've all seen, I hope you've all
And
seen.
also there's the.
We modified that concept slightly. As David mentioned, we narrowed the path to 4 feet from 8 feet. We felt that was a more controlled access to both sides of the crossing. We've specified a prefabricated track crossing itself, which you'll see on the plans that I've handed out. And we've modified the fencing a little bit. In discussions with the railroad and our own review internally, we felt that the best control for access is at the property lines, at the tops of the slopes. I don't know if either, if any of you have been out to the site, or all of you have been out to the site, but essentially this crossing is in a ravine. There's high ground on the west side, there's high ground on the east side, and you have to drop down some 30 feet or so in elevation to get to the tracks. We felt that if the kids wander down on their own to the tracks, and so right next to the tracks, it becomes more of an attractive nuisance than if we control them at the property lines at the top of the slope, outside the wooded area. So that's why we proposed gates and fencing at the property lines. And in discussion with the railroad, they didn't really want any facilities or controls down here near the railroad. And I felt it really wasn't doing any good to add it there, because the kids could easily circumvent those controls and go around and cross the tracks if they wanted to. So, we've proposed a slight modification to the originally approved concept, but other than that, I think it is in keeping with the spirit of what you approved. So I'll open it to questions that any of you have.
It's been a while since we looked at this, and I just don't remember. The fence near the school,
Right?
how long is that?
Well, actually, on the school side, we've shown just a short segment of fence, but the school plans on, I think, fencing the whole length of their property.
The whole length of
So
our
that'd be-
property that borders the, tracks, it has a 5-foot fence already in place.
Kid walk around the fence and get to the tracks.
That they could actually, except on the school side, if that fence is tied in, which is what the plan is now, that would be more difficult. On the field side, they could go several hundred yards or a quarter of a mile north or south and get around the fence if they wanted to. But frankly, this is a controlled crossing. We have a safety plan. Maybe we wanna hand that out to the committee members. We have a safety plan that was put in front of you before, and we're willing to abide by that, which means that this is much safer than the general public trying to access the tracks.
And if I may add, Tom, in terms of a child wandering down or a child circumventing a fence, that could happen today. The crossing is there and the school is there, and the fields are there. The reason to get to the other side is there. With this additional fencing and tying this into the existing fencing, we're providing additional physical constraints and additional administrative control to prevent that happening. But as we speak, and for as long as you've been operating, or as long as you've been owning a right-of-way and the railroad has operated there, there's a school, there are fields, there are children, and there are trains. And we're trying to take that situation and bring organization, appropriate rule structure, and appropriate physical structure to it.
Are there any other questions? Anything else you'd like to present at all?
I'll just say that, we are absolutely 100% committed to and invested in the safety of these kids. What we feel like we're asking you is actually an increase in the safety for these kids than what they already have at the moment. Even in, there are safety risks even in just transporting them by bus or by car. We actually feel that with this plan and this, infrastructure, what we're actually doing is greatly increasing the safety of these kids at this school, and we wouldn't be asking you to do that if we didn't feel like this was actually what was better for them than what we already had. You know, we're open to hearing your feedback and your questions, but I firmly stand committed that this is a better for the kids as far as safety and risk than what the school and the county are already doing.
And I think if the parents unanimously are comfortable with what we're doing, and if the federal standards, after decades and decades and decades, a century or more of development of railroad crossing standards, are satisfied that what Corey's saying, that we're making it safer is well documented. Thank you.
All right, with that, can I get a motion to move it, forward? Mr. Sokol, Ms. Frazier? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it's passed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Want to follow up with Martin, he's got a draft of that license
Yeah.
agreement. He's downstairs.
No, he's at city court today, that's
Oh,
why
yeah,
I
okay.
just, he's not here today, but we'll let him get in touch with you.
Okay.
I'll just give him a call.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll move along. The next request is to put dogs on the bike path. We do have a couple of people that want to speak.
Anyone here to speak? Well, we have Jim Fitzgerald, the
Right.
Queensbury and other locations, animal control officer.
If you'd like to make any comments on this?
Absolutely. Hello, I'm Jim Fitzgerald, Town of Queensbury Animal Control Officer, Chairman of the committee, thank you. I'm not here to ruin anybody's reputation, as was suggested by somebody when they called me after this made the press. I'm here for public safety. And, you know, dogs on the bike path, we've already got problems with complaints coming in. Very, not violent complaints or anything like that, but we can't enforce it now, and it's under control. And when tourists come in, they don't know it's a Warren County bike, it's in Queensbury. So my animal control office is gonna get flooded with calls for this, and I can guarantee you, we have too many extendable leashes. Jeff is already can say his guys are picking up poop bags in certain areas where it's called poop bag alley almost. And that is controllable right now. Now, if we entertain bringing dogs on the bike path, I don't know how we're gonna control that. To be an officer, to check dogs' licenses and rabies tags, you have to be vaccinated for rabies. There is no database that a cop can pull up if he has somebody that, even if the cops are gonna respond, I mean, how are we gonna enforce dogs on the bike path? It's not an animal control issue, it's a Warren County issue. And I think it just increases, we're just talking about liability. I mean, now you're gonna put dogs on the bike path. We already, as a first responder, I respond to accidents on the bike path as it is. It's an inherent danger just riding a bike. So now you're gonna add in dogs. So, I just wish you'd consider that. I love dogs as much as the next dog guy, but speaking as public safety, I don't think it's a very wise idea. Also, Town of Queensbury, we're putting up new signs at all of our parks that are all pet friendly, and it will read our town code, and people have a phone number to call my office if there's an infraction. So, we're being proactive on making sure that people know that our parks are pet friendly, and we're also putting our code, our town code on there with my phone number. So we're trying to get the word out that you can bring your dog to our parks and just do it in a responsible way. And I can tell you that I've already been in the emergency room this week with a child with a dog bite. I think I see most of the bites that happen, and it's very disheartening when you have to talk to a plastic surgeon and a parent at the same time on one of my calls. If you put dogs on the bike path, we don't have enough room on the bike path, it's not wide enough, we've already had major accidents on the bike path. So you're just adding an absolute level of danger. Also, we have a lot of exotic breeds of dogs in Queensbury, large breeds. I myself own a 140-pound mixed breed rescue. That does not give any room on the bike path for an oncoming bike, myself, and a 140-pound dog. So, Queensbury is an absolutely responsible town with dogs. We have over 2,000 registered dogs in Queensbury. So, as you can see, what I'm saying is I don't know what plan you would come up with if you do put dogs on there. You're talking about hiring an officer to enforce it. Where are you gonna get a database for all these tags? We have tourists that come from Montreal, from all over the country. I'm just talking, it's a logistical nightmare. So, I just wish you'd consider that, and like I said, to reiterate, I'm not here to hurt anybody's feelings. I respect their feelings, and I love dogs as much as the next person, but speaking for public safety, I think it's not a very good idea.
Thank you. And we also have a letter.
Letter is from Linda Mangione. I had planned to be at this meeting of the Public Works Committee. Unfortunately, I have to attend a funeral instead. The reason I wanted to be here is an article in the Post-Star on 9/26/14 concerning sanctioning of dogs on the Warren County Bike Path. I've been riding on the bike path for about 25 years, 2 to 3 times a week, about 15 miles each time. Sometimes there are more dogs than bikes. I would like to relate a couple of bike path experiences. The worst one was when a large dog running loose with the owner walking along decided to chase me. I called to the owner to restrain her dog, and she called out, "Oh, he won't hurt you." At this time, he was barking, growling, and jumping at my bike. I was petrified. Finally, I did outrun him. That was about 8 years ago. I was 65 years old. Then there is the man who has 2 big dogs he lets run loose, no leashes. When I say in passing, no dogs allowed, he screams, "Too bad, they have as much right to be here as you do." I see him a few times every year. He's not the only one who lets their dogs run loose. Then there are the people who have dogs on long leashes and let them run back and forth across the path, making it impossible for a bike to pass. And they get annoyed if you ask them to let you pass. Then there are times you pull off to the side and surprise, surprise, you have put your foot in dog poo. All of the dog walkers are not a problem, but unfortunately a large percentage are very inconsiderate. Many say they have every right to walk their dog on the bike path. Very briefly, sections 1, 7, and 16 of Local Law Number 2 of 1984 state to protect the public health, safety, and welfare, dogs are not allowed on the bike path and other places, and it provides for a fine of $25 to $100 for each offense. I've never seen a ticket issued in 25 years. I will let you draw your own conclusions whether or not dogs are safety compatible with bikes.
I also got a note from, Mr. Sinnerly that he couldn't make the meeting today, but he was hoping we'd take a vote on it. So, have any comments, Mr.?
I guess I'd make a resolution to get it, get it on the floor for discussion, but I would, propose that we, deny the request. I agree that the bike path is meant for bikes, and you're really introducing the safety problem if you allow dogs on it, and even my dog.
Yes, Mr. Dixon?
I definitely second that.
Okay. Any other comments on it? That's Ms. Fanzo?
When Freddie was here making his pitch, he kept saying that this is the only bike path, basically in Northeast, that doesn't allow dogs. He apparently didn't go to my town, because this was a rather
Considered that a
issue
foreign
for
country.
a while. Yeah, could be. The map just shows there be monsters here.
Yeah.
I know.
Starting with a town supervisor.
Somebody's gotta do it. But that wasn't quite an accurate statement. I know Chester's developing bike paths. They're being actually worked on all over the county, and I don't know that there is a standard specifically countywide, but I do know that our little corner of the woods has a lot of trepidation about this issue, and I would not support.
All right, Mr. Dixon, one more comment?
I think, as well as, we already have, no dogs in the bike path. I think a resolution reinforces that, but I think it would behoove us to allow it on the bike path, leashed or otherwise.
I think there,
We have
I
signs
think
all
there
over.
are out there.
Okay.
There's
Both
signs
the
out.
visual with the red thing and no dogs allowed, they're all over the place.
I go so fast on my little tricycle, I don't see 'em.
All right, a motion was made and second, do I have a vote to approve putting dogs on the bike path? Against the bike path, against approval, I mean, we got that motion, all right.
I made a resolution.
All right, all in favor of the resolution not to pass the dog leash law on the bike path, or allowing dogs on the bike path, that's a better phrase. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Anybody opposing that? Okay, carried, so that ends that. All right,
Thanks,
Thank
Mitzi.
you for your input.
thank you for your
Thank you, sir.
information, appreciate it.
Eddie will be back, it doesn't end it.
Yeah, I know. Jeff, one more, the sale of the excess equipment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 2 is a resolution to sell excess, or surplus county equipment. This is for thought I had a date on, I think it's a 1994 F-150 that is, high rail equipped, regular cab pickup. This is a truck that the Parks and Recs division used to use, since Saratoga North Creek came on. We do not use that. It hasn't been on the road in over 3 years. And, we were approached by the Riparius Volunteer Fire Department. They would like to give it a second life, as an emergency vehicle that they can go on tracks in the case of an emergency or a brush fire. We had an initial concern with their access onto the tracks, without the knowledge of Saratoga North Creek, but they have worked out a procedure in talking to Saratoga North Creek. They're comfortable with the fire department owning this equipment and, coordinating with them for access. So, came up with a value of $800, for the truck, and I've spoken with the fire department and they're okay with that. And I would like to go ahead and figure out how to transfer that to them.
Mr. Sokol, you made the motion, did I get a second, Ms. Dickinson?
I have a comment too, do we have to charge them for it?
Yes, my understanding is because it is a county asset, that there has to be a charge back to that entity, but I'll tell you, the truck is off the road, needs repair. Its scrap value right now is probably around $700. So, our option would be, we'd be ready to scrap it now. I talked with the fire department, and if they're willing to invest the time and effort to get this thing back on the road, they're gonna put some significant money into it. But in the end, they'll recoup almost their entire $800 back, cause it's really, for us, it's scrap.
Okay.
All right, so I got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, took care of that one, Jeff.
Okay, under items of interest, just wanna let you know that we have, stock Lake George with salmon. We held them, we increased their size by about 2.5 inches before releasing them. And that was done just recently here earlier this month.
Where'd you let them go?
They're all over the place now.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm gonna pass around a photo of a recent, construction project as well, of a new display pond. That's as you go down to the hatchery and you drive through and then around the loop and back out, this is the display pond in the center of that loop. And, much improved, and safer for the fish there. And also, as you can see, we've got our new standards on how we build these. We include the safety fences, not only for pedestrians, but to keep predators out. We actually had a predator down there, take our last supply of display fish. So that's recently been completed.
Was it a man?
It was a bear.
I was gonna blame you.
A man with, bear shoes
Shooting
and
fish in the
footprint.
swamp hole.
Yeah, well, what happened was, they killed a couple fish, ate some on site, and it ended up clogging the flow, so some of the others died. The last item of interest for Parks and Recs is Trunk or Treat, which is a new event, and I've given everybody some flyers for that. That's this Saturday. The concept of this is that people will come and they will be able to decorate vehicles, and then do some trick or treating between the vehicles in the parking lot. So we've seen it done in other areas, and it's kind of a new venture for Up Yonda, so we're excited about that. Under referrals, page 3, we've got the King School, taken care of, and we've got the dog in the bike taken care of.
All right, let's move into, DPW.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Chairman. On, page 1 is our typical overtime report. That only goes through current date. Nothing really noteworthy unless anyone's got any questions. And then we'll have my fuel report, starting on page 2. And again, we're still in good shape here as we're projecting our spend out for fuel through the end of the year. On page 5 is the first resolution request. This is an amend budget request for some county waste charges. You'll see that we're amending the budget, both on the fee side and the, revenue side. This is to account for some, battery disposals.
Get a motion? Yes. Second, anybody? Might as well. Any questions?
I have a question. They don't give any allowance for the battery? Are they lead batteries?
It was an we've made some adjustments in the budget, and it was an oversight that we didn't have that actually in there. So the budget codes for solid waste have gone through some transitions. They used to be carried under a different code, and then we created a new code. So it was simple draft budget going into 2015.
Okay, any other questions?
Don't they pay me for the batteries?
Yeah,
That's what.
that wasn't my question
Oh.
was, don't they give you an allowance for the batteries you turn in?
Yeah, that is, my understanding, we've got a revenue for it and an expense. So there is an expense and then a revenue back for these batteries.
What's the expense? You buying new batteries?
It's a disposal charge. If you wanna table it, I can bring
I
it
mean,
back again
I
with more
took my car
information.
battery down and the new battery was $100, I only paid $85.
Right, there are some batteries that you get a core, but then there's other batteries that we collect that are not. We recycle all of our batteries.
Okay. That's my question.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Okay, the next, 3 resolution requests are for 3 new capital projects. These are all, state pass-through grants, through our federal aid program. And each of these projects is relative to, bridge work. The first one, H351, is for painting of the County Route 44 over Hudson, Bridge. That's between the town of Luzerne and Lake Luzerne and town of Hadley. The second one is for, bridge painting on 2 other bridges. And then the last one is for, some asbestos abatement and painting projects on 3, bridges. These resolutions establish the capital project, and then we're placing in that a local match, necessary. We were hoping to have the state grant agreements by now, but they have not come back to us. But we'll advance those as soon as we get them, so that then we'll be accounting for some grant funds as well.
Are we only painting half the bridge between here and
Yeah, I was just thinking.
We're sharing the expense. The County Route 44 bridge, we share the local match expense on that. And the last project we did there, you may recall a couple years ago, we did another project where we did some structural repairs on the bridge. So now it's due for painting, and we're in coordination with Saratoga County. They own half of that bridge, and they will be paying their share.
Thank you.
Any other questions? You wanna move all 3 at the same time? Mr. Taylor, Mr. Conover? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passed.
Okay, on page 9 is a request to authorize a conference. This is for myself to go to annual, local bridge, conference and PDH training. This is out in Syracuse, November 5th, 6th, and 7th. And this is budgeted.
Conover? Mr. Sokol, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Okay, I have one more resolution request that I'm gonna have to, draft, after I can get with Martin again, but I'd like to present it to the committee. We have a contract with a company called Standard Medical that does our, urinalysis testing for our CDL drivers. And, the company has been doing a great job on site, but that administratively, they went through some transition back in 2013. And after virtually all of 2014 trying to sort out some of the contract requirements, I finally talked with, the county attorney's office about, okay, can we just, instead of trying to revise a contract for a year that's already gone, can we just do a resolution, pay that off? Their current contract and their current, company name is $14 in outstanding invoices that I'd like to be able to pay to them. But it would save a whole lot of, headache and back and forth with the county attorney if we just pass a resolution to authorize that.
Mr. Conover, Ms. Dickinson, any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
The, okay, that's it for resolutions. And then, as I mentioned, under pending items, I am anticipating receiving those new grants for the 3 new capital projects, and I'll be advancing those as soon as I get them. Also, we are working on scouring through some capital project closeouts. We do have some older bridge projects that we'll be closing out. Most of those funds, any unused funds will go back to, pay off some bonds, or we've accounted for them, to be transferred into our new projects. So that I'll be advancing those. Under items of interest, I have some recent project photos to send around. I have, recent paving on County Route 19, that's Umstedville Road, out of the hamlet of Pottersville, up, heading north to Essex County. We are virtually done with paving. We have one more overlay to do on a section of North Bay Road, where we just did some cold-in-place recycling, and we'll do a overlay to cap that off for the winter. The other projects that we'll be doing are smaller, patch repairs, so our paving crew is still active, but our production paving type projects are complete, other than that one Bay Road project. The other pictures I wanna send around are of, a bridge out in the hamlet of Stony Creek, and this is, County Route, County Route 3 over Roaring Branch. This was you'll see on the before pictures, if you look at the base of the abutment walls, the amount of deterioration and scour damage was there for about a month, forming up new concrete, scour protection, and hopefully we won't be back to there in any of our lifetimes, at least here at the county. So it was you'll see with the final scour protection, quite a beefy addition to the bottom of the abutments. And one other items of interest that I wanna make you aware of, the, planning department has been advancing a First Wilderness grant and working with the town of Johnsburg for some, streetscaping work up in North Creek. And also that extends along Main Street in North Creek and into the railroad station. As part of that grant, I was informed by, Wayne Lamothe that he has some funds to pave, and he'd like to get those expended, this, year. So we will be, going ahead with some paving of the parking lot near what we call the White House, which is the office building, and the main parking area down in the North Creek station. So the paving crew will be up there doing that. And then the rest of the project, Wayne couldn't be here today, but I'd like him present so that he can talk through and update the committee on the other, plan that's been worked mostly at the town level. But it will require some review here and approval at the county level, as we're part owners, and also I wanna make sure you're aware of the improvements on the county road. So I anticipate that next month when Wayne is available, and then that construction will hopefully proceed next year.
Okay. We have no old business, no referrals, privileges of the floor. Anybody have any comments on Mr. Scott?
Jeff, just generally speaking, are you satisfied with, the general highway productivity this year, both in terms of the productivity of
your department in terms of road improvement and contracted work? Are you,
Well, I guess the only, contract issues we've had, we've talked about in the committee here with the Lake George Environmental Park, that contractor and some other contract issues, but as far as the DPW forces, we went through a lot of transition early in the spring, new highway manager, new paving foreman, and we all, I think even back in the days of the, you know, larger budgets, we weren't paving as much as we did this year, and we spent about $3.14 million in material and contracts, mostly material, on our paving projects. And we went at the projects pretty aggressively early in the season, and really since probably mid to late August, we've had a lot of flexibility to slow down our pace and catch up on some other maintenance work. So we ended up way ahead of schedule on our paving program. We've never been this close to complete this early, and that's a testimony not only to my new highway manager, but my paving foreman and the engineering support that they're getting, so. And we got some good cooperation from Mother Nature as well. This work here is also with a new bridge foreman. So, this is the type of concrete form work that I have a few guys in the department that can do this on a consistent basis. So this is top-notch concrete work, and so we're very happy with the work that they did. And I'm anticipating that it'll be the same bridge foreman next year and the same paving foreman next year.
Sokol?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jeff, is there any way to track from January 1 how many projects were done in Lake Luzerne since we've got a new chairman, as opposed to projects that are pushed aside from other towns?
We've had a few.
Quiet and warm in this room.
Yeah.
Any records have been. Are we considering that a FOIL request?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
So moved. Thank you all. I'd like to see nothing.